Good evening, everybody. MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new handicapping video. Title of this video is we're going to do a breakdown of a huge dog we hit in college basketball. Came from this game right here. Back on 12/21, we hit Bryant at plus 425. We're going to talk about that in a second. Before we do that, don't forget, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate it. We've had a ton of people subscribe to the channel here in the last month. It was probably our biggest growth we've had. Greatly appreciate that. A ton of videos here. If you like NFL handicapping, we have a whole section on that. Soccer, Major League Baseball, NHL betting previews from last year, and also handicapping videos where you will see the most content right here. Okay, back to the game we were talking about. Now, Bryant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this game down, sort of the philosophy and mindset of how I did it. It's very simple, actually. Before I show you the actual game, I want to show you, go to my sports monitoring service. This is sportswatchmonitor.com. It's a monitoring service. If you don't know what a monitoring service is, they basically monitor a handicapper's plays, which means I have to send my plays in that I play to them. They verify that, they grade those wagers. So if somebody like this situation says, I don't believe you hit a 425 dog, you can see, you can go to my college basketball log here, and it says Bryant there, 425, a win. It's a really good service. They're out of Las Vegas, and most of your, quote, legit handicappers like myself are verified through a monitoring service, and Sports Watch Monitor does a great job, and I have a great relationship with them. Okay, so diving into this particular game, Bryant, UMass. Now, I'm going to talk about this later in the video, but one of the sort of key things that I focus on as a handicapper, I play moneyline dogs in all sports. I play moneyline dogs in college basketball, definitely play moneyline dogs in football. I play moneyline dogs in NBA, and of course, Major League Baseball and hockey, which is primarily a moneyline sport. And there's several benefits to doing that. Number one is if you're playing moneyline dogs, you don't have to hit 52.5 to break even. And what I mean by that is, this is a chart here. We've all seen this. You see where it says 110 odds. Most of you, the majority of you, play spread lines. 110 is usually the juice for those spread lines. So in order to break even, not turn a profit, you have to hit 52.4% to break even. That's not to turn a profit. That means if you play spread lines, you play no money lines at all, money line dogs, you're going to have to hit a minimum 52.4% just to break even, not even profit. And then probably more than likely, you're going to have to hit somewhere in the neighborhood of 55, 56% of your wagers to have a winning record. Now, if you go back to my monitoring service, we click on the front page here. It's pretty cool. You can see here where it says, last 60 days, MGCovers, that's me, 14,069 profit. Look at the win percentage, 51%. And you could say, well, hey, how are you able to do that? Well, I'm able to do that because I incorporate money line dogs in my wagering. I'm playing a lot of money line dogs. And what you'll see, it's really not that hard of a concept to grasp. And the reason the majority of you don't hit money line dogs, the majority of you listening to this video, you do not play a lot of money line dogs. And if you don't play money line dogs, you cannot hit money line dogs. So let's go back to this Bryant, Massachusetts game. And the actual line was Bryant was +9 and UMass was -9. It was funny. I had a client that sent me a DM the day we hit it and was like, you know what? I didn't even realize that Bryant had a basketball team, or had never heard of the school Bryant, which is funny, right? And here's the crazy part. If you follow me for a while, you know when I talk about biases, that's probably had a lot to do with it, is that most people, this is very early in the season. This happened on December 21st. So I think it was like the 6th game for Bryant, maybe the 4th game for UMass. Most people had heard of UMass. UMass was at home. So that bias was factored into this line. UMass was -9. Bryant was +9. So what I want to do is I want to look at, I don't have the line that we had, but I do know that my stat model had Bryant favored, okay? I think our line was -4. So If we had Bryant -4 and Bryant was +9, that gave us a 13-point differential. And it's very simple. When I play a moneyline dog, whether it's NFL, whether it's college basketball, I want to make sure that the team that I'm playing on the money line is favored via my power rankings. So that's one key thing that I look for. I want to make sure that my power rankings show that that team is the favorite to win. So if Bryant was like +5 and the line was +9, I probably wouldn't even play the game. But again, considering they were what did I say? It was -4. I can't remember if it was -4 or -5, but they were favored my power rankings. So therefore, it meant it was we played them on the money line, considering the huge amount of value we were getting at +425. And look at their that was their last game. I'm recording this video like 4 days later. So you look at November 27th. Now look, this is I've talked about this to my clients when you're handicapping games. They played Syracuse, okay, a very good team, not even in their division, lost to them 85-84. So that was a huge situationally thing that I factored, that I gave a lot of consideration to. Hey, Bryant has, because obviously you can see they won all these games up here, lost to St. Francis, Brooklyn. So you're saying, well, how would they play against a really good team? Well, they lost to Syracuse by 1. Now, granted, Syracuse is probably not as good as they normally are in the past, but still, it's pretty solid. And they covered a 22.5. They were 22.5 dogs and only lost by 1. This looks like an NAIA school here. So St. Francis, Brooklyn, they won that one, turned around and lost to them by 2. So you can see their 2 losses. They lost to Syracuse by 1 and lost to St. Francis by 2. So when I look at this overall, the way I assess that is, hey, this is a competitive team. They're very competitive. They're in all their games. Beat Stony Brook here. Beat Wagner 74-62. Turn around and beat Wagner 81-75. So this comes up a lot. What makes it difficult for the sports book, let's go look at UMass's schedule up to that point, is that in a game like this, where you have 2 good teams, the sports books, they have to make somebody the underdog. And whichever team they make the underdog, that team's going to have a plus value on the money line, whether it's +120, +150, +200. In this case, because Bryant was +9, they ended up being +425. So this was there's the UMass Bryant game. So prior to that, they really hadn't played a whole lot of people. They played Northeastern. They beat them 94-75, and then turned around and lost to them 2 days later, 78-75, and then won against LaSalle 85-66. And what I'll do a lot of times when I'm handicapping, I'll look at, when a team beats a team, I'll look at how good that team is that they beat. And you can see here LaSalle is 3-5, so not that good of a team, right? And then I also look at, let's go back to, Northeastern. So UMass split, 2 games with split a game with Northeastern. I do the same with Northeastern. And Northeastern's 1-4. So, when I was handicapping this, I thought, hey, Bryant's has played really well. This is a really bad line. Let's just go ahead and say it. It was a really bad line. They played Syracuse tight, and were a really good team. Whereas UMass, they beat Northwestern, not a good team. They beat LaSalle, not a good team. So they really hadn't been tested, and they were just 2-1 going into this game. Yet they were favored to win by 9, and Bryant was +9, and we took advantage of the fact that the sports book had to make one of these teams an underdog. And in this particular case, there was a lot of bias factored in that line with UMass. It was really a bad line. This line probably should have been, even though UMass was home, probably should have been closer to maybe -2, -3. And then not sure we would have played it. Maybe we would have played it on the spread line. I'm not sure, but anyway, We did play it on the money line at 425, and it hit. And so that was the largest underdog money line dog we've ever hit in college basketball. Biggest one we've hit in Major League Baseball was plus 448. That was 2 years ago. Some of you might remember that game, Detroit. God, I just drew a blank there. But anyway, so so we've hit some big ones. I mean, plus 200, plus 150 are common for us. And like I said, I'm going to show you something else. This is my betting log. If you look right here, starting 12-5, I list the teams, the money line, whether we won or lost, and then the amount of units we won. And you have access to this, by the way. If you go to MGCovers.com, my website, and there's a link that says MG's betting log. It's public. Anybody can see this. And I'm just going to show you, like, we'll start right here, 12-5, and look at these dogs I played. I played these two right here. These were college basketball teams. We lost, but then we played Coastal. This is when Coastal played BYU. We had them favored via our model. That was a plus 300 dog we hit there. There's Bills, plus 100. We won that one. And here's one thing to note, too. When you play a money line dog, regardless of the sport, you pay no juice when you lose. So if you're playing a spread team and they lose, you're going to pay that 110 juice, right? Well, when you're playing a money line dog, regardless of the sport, when you lose, you're paying no juice. So there's a lot of advantages of playing money line dogs. But back to just looking at some brief games, we had Coastal plus 300. Keep scrolling down. Giants, Vikings, we lost those 145-70. There's a Redskins. We hit that one plus 125. Hit the Chargers plus 170. We played this basketball match. We lost this 170. And then when you look at, since these are back to back, the cool thing about it is if you're playing two money line dogs, I've made videos on this before. You only have to win one of those to turn a profit. Because if we lose this one, let's just say these are $100 wagers. We win 170 here. We lose 100. We lose 100 here. We're not losing 170 because we're not paying any juice. So we win 170 here. We lose 70 here. 100 here. Win 170, lose 100 here. So we make $70 right there on a $100 wager. Scroll down here was Iowa State. We had at 170. That was a loss. Georgia money line 130. That was a hit. There's Bryant right there, 425. That was a winner. We played Central Florida. There's another winner on the money line, plus 145. There's another one, Northwestern, at plus 130. So you can see there, it's just part of, what I incorporate into my sports betting. Now, I'm going to give you some really, really, really good information here. So, because a lot of times what people say, well, money line dogs don't hit that often. Well, they hit a lot. And specifically, let's look at NHL first, one of my favorite sports. This was last year's standings. You can see year-to-date, the year-end standings. Boston was 71%. We'll use a truncated mean and eliminate that. You can Google that if you'd like to. 65%, some of these really good teams. Tampa wins at 65%. Washington, 65%. Philadelphia, 65%. Pittsburgh, 62%. So the point I'm making, Tampa, Washington, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, they're losing almost 40% of their games. So in all of these games, pretty much the entire year, they were probably more times than not favored and lost. And those teams that beat them were probably plus dogs on the money line. Okay? And conversely, when you look down here at some of these, what we consider bad teams in NHL, use the truncated mean, eliminate Detroit, Ottawa, New Jersey, Buffalo. These teams right here, they were still winning 43% of their games, right? And more times than not, they were probably not the favorite. So they were winning, cashing on the money line 43% of the time. This also happens in Major League Baseball. Let's look at Major League Baseball standings. You can see here, if you take out the Dodgers, Tampa, Atlanta, San Diego, Oakland, Minnesota, all were winning, 59% of their games. So that meant 40% of the time they were losing. And more times than not, the teams that they were losing to, 40% of the time, were probably, plus dogs on the money line. 120, plus 150, maybe even plus 200. So moneyline dogs in a moneyline sport happens a lot. And you might be saying, well, how often does it happen in college basketball? But well, I just showed you how often it happens. It happens a lot. You can see there that, you know, how we wagered on that. And one of the tip that I'll give you for college basketball when playing a moneyline dog, if you go up here, this is covers.com. I'm not associated with this site, by the way. Scroll over here, click this link where it says League Trends. Click on that. I may have talked about this in other videos. See where it says home teams. Home teams in college basketball win 73% of the time. That's actually up this year. It averages about 70%. So one thing you can do when you're looking at a college basketball match, or I say match, college basketball game, and let's say your stat model, you look at a home dog, say it's like plus 120 or plus 130. Well, let's say on the spread line, that home team is like plus 2 or plus 3. Well, there's really not any advantage of taking the points there. You're probably better off playing that home team on the money line at say plus 120, plus 130. And you get this statistical property working in your advantage. And what I mean by statistical property, it's a statistical fact about that sport. The home team wins 73% of the time, right? Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple other ways to think about handicapping sport, just like in, or taking advantage of money line dogs, just like you saw here. Let's get back to it. Let's go to, I'll show you something here. Let's go to NFL and look at yesterday. I'll tell you what, let's do it like this. Let me go to sportsbookreview.com, show you one other thing. Okay, yesterday in NFL, I want to get to the Cincinnati-Houston game. Money line. Okay, we didn't play this, but we had several clients on Cincinnati. Our power rankings had Cincinnati the favorite. Let me pull that up because there'll probably be people question that too. Let's see here. NFL power rankings. If you're a client, this is exactly what my power rankings look like. So we go over here to Cincinnati. You can see Cincinnati. We had Cincinnati favored by 5 there, -5. So if we go to here, you could see here that if you played Cincinnati on the money line, and we had clients hit this match, depending on which book, hit this game plus 285. A lot of clients at Bovada plus 270. And what you'll see with the sports book, when you have two bad teams playing each other, what Cincinnati had won 4 games, Houston had won 3, something like that, they have to make somebody the favorite. In this case, they chose to make Houston the favorite, and Cincinnati was the dog. So that comes up so many times in sports betting where you have two bad teams playing each other, and more times than not, the value play is to play the team that's getting the most amount of value on the money line, the plus money line. And as you saw in the situation I had with Bryant, we were getting the value. It was 2 pretty decent teams. I think UMass was 2-1. Bryant was 5-1 going in that game. So when you have 2 good teams, the same deal. The sportsbook has to make one of those teams a favorite. They have to make one of those teams an underdog. And where's the value? The value is with the underdog. So again, going back to let's go back to Sports Watch Monitor here real quick. Sorry about that. And again, when you look at right here, last 60 days, MGCovers 51%. This is so important because, one of the beauty when I talked about those games where if you lose on the money line, you pay no juice. That's so important. And the beauty of the way that I teach sports handicapping, and I play a lot of money line dogs, is that I'm not going to go back and calculate this, but I'm willing to bet I could probably, if I would just add some losses in, I could probably be 45% in the last 60 days and probably be even money, maybe even less than that. Because surely if we're up, 14 units here, God, looks like we won a game, or they added it in there. 51% up 14 units, probably, maybe 44% were even. Whereas when I went back and showed you guys this chart here, if you're just playing all spreads at 110 juice, you got to be 52% just to break even. Where you look at my record, I'm 51%, making a really, really, really nice profit. So hopefully this video helps. If you've got any question, and again, I think the biggest thing that you can do is you have to play moneyline dogs. There's this fear of playing moneyline dogs. Moneyline dogs cash in all sports. They cash in Major League Baseball. They cash in all sports. They definitely cash in NFL. And if you follow me for long enough, you've seen that. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in becoming a client, there's a link in the description box. $29.95 a month gives you access to all of our power rankings for all sports. You also get all of our coaching videos. You can get all of that in addition to all of my plays for $49 a month. And if you want to get everything I just mentioned for an entire year, that's $249. And there's a link in the description box. Greatly appreciate your time watching this video. Hope everybody has a great day. And don't forget to play those moneyline dogs. Peace.